This episode of The Good Doctor is a made-up story about a real battle still being fought. Honor the heroes, doctors, nurses, and other frontline workers, many of whom who have given their lives. Do your part, wear a mask. Great message. I love the way they're showing the viral particles. They're just spreading out everywhere. That absolutely does happen. That's why it's really important to dab when you cough to try and limit that spread. We've seen it actually spray 6 feet away from you when you cough or sneeze. And germs have hang time. So you can walk into an empty room that someone just sneezed in and be exposed to those germs. I don't know why I did that.
There you go.
This is such a good example of how germs spread. Droplets, meaning someone coughs or sneezes or speaks. Contact, meaning they coughed on their hands and they touch something, they give it to somebody else. When we talk about disinfecting your hands, wearing a mask, we're talking about decreasing droplet spread and contact spread.
Have you seen my ID badge?
No.
I had it last night, but maybe it fell out of my bag.
I lose my ID badge all the time. Like, not permanently lose it, but have it in my car, in my trunk, in my suitcase, in my home. Sometimes Bear steals it. Sorry, Bear.
Your temperature's almost 101. Your other symptoms?
First it was a sore throat, then my body started aching. And then there's this cough. I even had my flu shot.
Unfortunately, influenza is constantly mutating. The shot always lags behind.
Both very accurate statements. In fact, during this time frame in February, I was working in my primary care office. We knew COVID was around, but we didn't think it was everywhere yet. So a lot of patients were coming to my practice with upper respiratory viral symptoms just like this: fever, cough, muscle aches, and we thought they potentially had influenza. We gave them antivirals for influenza. The reality is, even if you had your flu shot, you can still get the flu, but your case should be milder.
My daughter's very worried that I might have this virus from China. What's it called?
Have you been to China or been around anyone who's been to China recently?
Those are the questions we were asking. At that time, I think we were referring it to nCoV-19, right? Was it nCoV-19?
The virus has damaged your mother's lungs. Her body is working harder and harder to breathe, but her blood oxygen levels continue to drop.
She definitely has corona.
We're doing everything we can to help her.
See, that patient was actually in a negative pressure air room. They were isolated from other people because at that point, we were deciding whether COVID-19 was only needed to maintain a droplet precaution where you just cover your face and the patient's face with a mask, or do we need a negative pressure room because COVID was spread through airborne transmission, where the virus just lived in aerosolized particles in the air all the time. And what we came to realize is it's more of a droplet spread, but there are some instances where it can be spread through aerosolized particles, especially during medical procedures like intubations.
You have COVID.
Okay, now what?
Now you go home.
That's it?
That's it. There's no treatment. Stay away from people. Come back if you have trouble breathing. Goodbye.
I forget because I don't watch this show regularly how funny Sean is. COVID-19 is a viral illness. So if your oxygen levels are not dropping drastically and you just kind of feel lousy and you have a mild fever, your body is the one that has to fight this off. Like, there's very little that we can actually do in the hospital systems. And by keeping you in the hospital, we're actually increasing the risk to healthcare providers and other patients.
25 tests? Per day? No, just give me one of tomorrow's. Hello? County Health Department, I don't have time for them, and apparently they don't have time for me.
I remember in March, I had a patient who I suspected to have COVID-19, but I didn't have a test available. So I was calling the Department of Health, trying to secure a test for them, eventually getting them a test, finding out that they were in fact positive. Luckily, everyone was wearing a mask at that point, so we decreased the spread, we cleaned the room, sent them out the back door, tried to do our best to limit the spread of this virus. There's just a lot of things we didn't know in the beginning that we know now.
If I'm sick, is my baby sick?
This disease doesn't really seem to affect children or babies like it does adults. Should we admit her?
She's probably safer at home.
Once at home, do you have a support system? Can anyone come help you?
Good question.
In case you get worse?
It's just me and the little one.
Good doctors always ask questions like this. If I'm sending a patient home that I'm sort of questionable on, and let's say they had a concussion, I always want to make sure that there's someone to keep an eye on them, that if they become unconscious, they have someone to call for help and to check on them.
If I come home, do you want me living with you?
Of course, that's the point.
Every night after 12 hours of COVID patients to hang out with you and Kellen and his asthma.
Interestingly enough, we've seen conflicting reports on how COVID-19 affects those with asthma. Now, if it's just asthma alone, it doesn't seem to be as bad as we expected it to be. But those who are asthmatic and have other comorbidities like heart disease, obesity, those are the patients that seem to be experiencing worse symptoms and worse outcomes.
We do everything we can. We hammer at official channels and every manufacturer's rep that we deal with and see what companies, if any, have undisturbed...
Nuts or no nuts?
I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a meeting with the board.
Hey, everyone. I'm just making banana bread.
One of the most searched terms in the height of this pandemic was how to make sourdough bread. Go figure. I've never made sourdough bread. I've never Googled it. I don't know who's sitting at home Googling it. But apparently sourdough bread was the thing everyone was making, not banana bread. And as always, stay happy and healthy, and stay alert, not anxious.